Hello, film fans. Welcome to All the Film Things. I'm your host, Elizabeth. Thank you for listening. If you're enjoying this podcast, leave a review or a rating. Also, check out the All the Film Things Instagram for updates and more film things. Today, I am talking with Franklin Ritch. Franklin Ritch is a Jacksonville-based writer, director, and editor who you should all keep an eye on. But don't just take my word for it. Filmmaker Magazine named him one of the 25 new faces of independent film, and in 2018, the mayor of Jacksonville awarded him the Rising Star Award. Under his production company, Last Resort Ideas, Franklin has made several short films, such as Chatterbox, Bedridden, and New Wings, a Batgirl Fan Film, with each film proving his versatility in terms of stories, characters, and genres. Franklin's debut feature film, a sci-fi mystery thriller with a focus on AI, The Artifice Girl, had a successful film festival run. After debuting at the Fantasia Film Festival, where the film earned the Audience Award Gold, The Artifice Girl was screened at several film festivals, including South by Southwest and the Florida Film Festival. It is also noteworthy to include that the film earned Franklin a nomination for the John Cassavetes Award at the Florida Independent Spirit Awards. Franklin's latest short, titled Last Weekend, premiered at the Cordillera International Film Festival in Nevada this past September and is expected to be released this winter. We will be talking more about this film later in our interview today, but make sure you check out the teaser trailer for the short on the Last Resort Ideas YouTube channel. Franklin, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much. I need to hire you to write my bio. That sounded so great. That was fantastic.
Well, that's your work. That's your accomplishments. How does that feel?
Feels great to hear it read out loud.
Yeah.
Very much so. So thank you. Thank you so much for boosting my ego today.
So I'm so happy to have you on. We've been talking about this for approaching a year now.
Yeah.
And we met through the Jax Film Bar, specifically Basil Jada introduced us. And every time I'm there, you're so kind, and I always look forward to chatting with you. And we always talk about great films and get into great film-related conversations. So.
Absolutely. You have a great taste in films, and I think that was the first thing that sort of struck me when chatting with you. So I'm so excited to be a part of your podcast and get to talk more.
I'm so honored. And you as well have great taste in films. You have a wide variety of interests in films, it seems. So.
Definitely. I think it's when you do your first kind of film and everybody just sort of assumes that, okay, those are the kinds of films that you like, you must only be into Denis Villeneuve films and Gareth Edwards stuff. And it's like, yeah, but, I could talk for days about, Puss in Boots 2 and Wallace and Gromit. So it's I think it's interesting to see like how, and I know I'm not the only one, there's lots of filmmakers out there where your taste is sort of informed by a wide variety of films. Most filmmakers I know aren't just like, oh, I only watch the kinds of movies that I like to make. I think a lot of filmmakers pull from a very wide spread of influences.
Yes, and that's shown very much in your work.
Thank
I
you.
mean, from your short films from high school to now, like, I have so many questions, and we won't get through all of them or be able to devote as much time to certain projects, but I will try my best to make it a well-rounded interview. But I did want to start about these high school short films because at Film Bar, we're always talking about films and not so much about other people's work, maybe a little bit the most recent stuff, but through preparing for this episode, watching your short films and other projects over the past decade or so, I'm really blown away. And I don't say that often. My impression is that you knew at a young age that you wanted to be a filmmaker, and ever since, you have worked hard and did all you could, going full speed ahead down towards that goal. Is that a fair assessment?
Absolutely. No, you're 100% right. I remember kind of discovering film at a very early age. I always kind of knew I wanted to make films, as long as I could remember. But I remember there being a key moment, I was 6 or 7, when realizing that it was something I could actually do. And so I got started doing stop motion animation. I referenced Wallace and Gromit earlier. Yeah.
Wow.
But I remember watching one of their shorts and thinking, oh my God, I guess you don't need all this expensive equipment and all of these people, all of this money. You could just take some plasticine and a camera, take a photo, move the plasticine a little bit, take another photo, move the plasticine. You do that a bajillion times and you've made a film. And so I kind of got my start doing stop motion and kind of learned the basics of film doing that in grade school and middle school. And it wasn't until high school that I started making friends and making short films with them. So that was kind of the origin of my love of film. Started there.
Starting with stop motion, that's already a challenge. You're starting off strong.
You have to be a little crazy and a little neurotic, and a bit of a micromanager too, I think. But it's such a fun medium, and I think it's also fun to bring up in these interviews now after releasing The Artifice Girl, because in a way, stop motion is all about taking an inanimate object, and through this optical illusion, through motion, you're able to communicate emotion and then incite a reaction, an emotional reaction from your audience. If you think of like the Luxo lamp with Pixar, right? The little lamp that hops across in the logo they did, that was one of their early short films. And they just took this inanimate object, and just from the way that they were able to move it and animate it, they gave it this personality. And you felt like it was alive, that it had characteristics and pathos. And it was, so I love that how that kind of ties into The Artifice Girl in a way. Yes. How it's finding emotion and personality in something originally assumed to be inanimate, you know? I just think it's magic to me. Yeah.
It's truly magic, but that connection to The Artifice Girl, that's absolutely it. Just a more advanced version of something that's not human, not object, I guess.
Yeah.
But that's fantastic.
It's cool. Everything's connected. But high school, it all comes back, right? But high school definitely was a big, important time in kind of kicking off that sort of portfolio of short films. And a lot of them are really ridiculous and stupid in hindsight.
No, they're great.
Oh, no. Like, how many of you actually watched? Did you watch all? Oh, no.
I do my research, but the first videos were excellent. Like, you know, people who love making films, filmmakers, we start with these sort of short films and playing around with film and, you know, editing and everything. And they're not always great when we look back on them, but yours from the start, from the first video, were excellent. There was, I'm not even like exaggerating, not a bad video, truly.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm sure I've probably removed some of the worst ones off of YouTube at this point, but no, I do agree that, like, and because right now I'm an artist in residency at Douglas Anderson, and so I'm watching these high school students make their first films and helping them with their scripts and with their projects, with their edits, and kind of being reminded of that. And I have to keep sort of reminding them too. It's like, you know, don't forget that this part of the process, this part of your life should be experimental. You know, you should be making these mistakes. You should be trying to do something way too ambitious, because that's what we did. And you know, from those potential failures are the best thing you can possibly do at that age, because you're going to learn so much and you're going to grow so much. If you keep making safe projects, then you're not going to grow. So I think it's really kind of fascinating to being in this position now, surrounded by other very talented students who are making their projects. It has kind of had me reflecting a little bit on my high school days and what was valuable, what was important. And I think a big part of it too was having people in my life when I was growing up who were supporting me and fostering my enthusiasm. One of whom I have to mention was Britt McTammany, who I met in high school. He was running a production company, and he was an alumni of the school. And so he was constantly at the school doing photography, videography. And I met him at the school, and we kind of had this immediate connection over this love of film. And so he said, anything you need help with, like, I'll bring in my professional resources and stuff. And ever since then, we've been making short films together. And so he was the director of photography on The Artifice Girl, plus pretty much everything that I've done in the past 10 years. And he is just a phenomenal person that I would not be who I am without him. And we wouldn't have any of these films had it not been for his, you know, essential collaboration. And again, that all started in high school. So it's really cool.
I didn't realize your collaboration went so far back. I mean, he's been the DP for, as you said, many of your projects. And just know how meaningful that collaboration is incredible.
Absolutely. So, and again, I was just a kid at the time when we met, you know, and he was a professional. He was running a company. So for him to take that leap and just be like, yeah, whatever you need, like I'll help out. it's something that I want to pay forward,
Right.
to the next generation, and something I want to inspire everybody to do. If you see a young person with ambition and with talent, don't discourage that. Encourage
Right.
that, because you never know, that could lead to something incredible.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask about how your parents felt about you just trying to go into film. You're laughing.
No.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
No, right? I mean, I got very, very lucky that I had very supportive parents, I will say. I think, at the time, there was still a very long period of, this is really cool. And, when Franklin gets fixated on something, he gets fixated on something. So we'll let this, run its course.
Right.
And I think it wasn't that long ago that they, that people in my family have come to the realization of like, oh, he's really like, he's not growing out of this. This is he's committed. He's gonna do this in, one way or another, which is really, really wonderful. I gotta give props to my mother, who is every set that I've had in the past several years, she's been an active participant on it, whether it's helping with craft services. She loves being supportive in that way. And my father as well has been very, very supportive. And so it's really great to have them. I think family is very, very important in my life. So I always want to make sure that no matter what I do and no matter where I end up going with this career, that I never forget how much they mean to me and how much they've supported me. So right. I am very, very grateful in that sense. But it's still you have your Thanksgiving dinners with people, and not to be fair, I really haven't experienced this recently since the release of the Artifice Girl, but there's always this lingering like, so how's that fun little film thing going? You're making movies still? Like that's always sort of on the horizon with people. But you just smile and say, yep, still trying.
Yeah, my film was at South by Southwest.
Yeah. Well, I love that too. You always have like someone will always say, again, I'm not gonna get too specific because I can think of several people, but you always have that one person who's just like, hey, Franklin, how's the film industry going? And you try so hard not to go like, oh, it's terrible. Like it's actually the worst.
Worst, really.
And I could talk to you about it, but but we can talk about film craft and we can talk about the independent scene and all that. And they're not looking for an actual conversation about it. They didn't mean to open a can of worms. They were just being funny. But yeah, anyways, so very, very grateful still.
Was there something specific, maybe a goal you kept in mind that really drove you?
I guess just I've always felt compelled to tell stories, and I feel as though there's a lot that I want to talk about to people, and I don't know how. I feel like I'm missing the language to do that, and I think I am very insecure and struggle with communicating with people, which I know sounds ironic.
Well, you're like everyone. You're talking all the time at Film Bar.
I
no
know.
Problem.
And see, here's the thing: the Film Bar was such a great thing for that reason. In most social circumstances, I don't know how to engage with people. But at a place like Film Bar, which we have every week, and it's always film people in town, people that I've grown to love, and I feel as though they're like a family to me. No matter who is there. And, we have a lot of first-time attendees, a lot of newcomers. Right. Doesn't matter who you are, I can walk up to you and be like, you like film, I like film, let's talk about film, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And suddenly there's a starting point, and it happens to be this thing that I'm super passionate about and love more than life itself. So Film Bar, I feel like it's different. I feel like I have the confidence to talk about it because we're all there for the same kind of, interest. Yeah. But in regular situations, I can't just walk up to someone and be like, so I've been thinking about generational trauma and also artificial intelligence. And I was kind of thinking about how they would, you can't really like do that at, your friend's bar mitzvah. So like instead, I've always felt like film was an opportunity to kind of incite those conversations and to communicate things that I'm feeling that I don't know how to articulate normally. So I think that was always kind of a thing, but I also do feel as though film can be a very powerful tool and a very powerful way to inspire change and improve improve society in kind of a semi-naive, definitely optimistic way. But I do think it's important. And so I want to make sure that the stories I tell are meaningful, that it's not just, I'm not just doing a thing because it's cathartic or because it's cool. I also do feel as though I have a responsibility to use my platform to do something productive and positive in this world. So that's always kind of kept me motivated as well. I think that's pretty much it. There's also just this like lingering sensation that if I stop doing it, like I'll drop dead. I don't know.
Really?
It's just
I know the feeling. Yeah.
a compulsion, I guess.
Yeah. And that's cool that, I mean, I'm very similar in that way. Like film will get me to open up. I'm very shy, but talking about film, going to a place like Film Bar, conversing with people who all love film, it is easier to open up and socialize, because otherwise, you shut down.
Definitely. I feel that.
I imagine that you're self-taught in a lot of aspects, like editing, acting, camera work, everything. Is that true? Yeah,
I think it's interesting. I would never introduce myself by saying like I'm self-taught, but when reflecting on it, I mean, I didn't really have a film class ever, or I applied to a film school, the one at FSU, and didn't get in my first time around, and then was there for a year before saying, I just didn't feel as though after volunteering there, I wasn't going to get the kind of experience, the kind of educational experience that I was anticipating. So I instead dropped out of college, and funny enough, Britt offered me an internship at his production company, that was my film school, I felt like. And it wasn't, I had a lot of incredible mentors and people who, if I had questions, they would answer, right? But it was never like now I'm going to teach you how to do this. It was instead sort of a trial and error thing. I would make choices in my own projects, right? And see if those worked or didn't work. And then also observe how these other professionals were doing it, and would sort of learn from observing them. And then, of course, if I had questions, they would be, very kind enough to sort of guide me. So that was kind of how I learned. Obviously, there's no wrong way to learn, but I think you have to pick up a camera and go out there and shoot and make stuff and learn by doing. There's some great resources online, obviously. And, like everybody else, I took the master class Aaron Sorkin thing, you do that. But at the end of the day, I felt like the most valuable stuff was just by making things and then objectively looking at them and saying, okay, what worked, what didn't work. Getting feedback from other people is super, super valuable. People that you trust. So that was really, I think, how I was taught. I think calling to say it was like being self-taught might be, just a little too simple. It's a little too easy, and maybe giving myself too much credit. I really feel like it was much more of kind of a complex spread. But yeah, no film school required.
No film school required. Yeah.
But yeah, that was my experience at the very least. Not to put film school down. Some people, it works great for them, but for me, I didn't take that path.
Which directors have been your biggest teachers?
As far as like directors that I have met or haven't met?
Well, I know you are close with
Mike Flanagan.
Yes,
who's been for hands down the best mentor I could have ever hoped for this part of my career. He's been absolutely terrific and supportive and so gracious and kind and so open about the industry and about that world. So that's been great. But as far as growing up and watching films and being a fan of filmmakers and listening to director commentaries, I mean, I obviously take a lot of influence from David Fincher, the Coen brothers. More recently, I've been a big fan of directors like Kitty Green. I think The Assistant is one of the best films made recently. Big fan of Lynn Ramsey. I think Taika Waititi's early work is really, really terrific. And there's I could go on. There's a long list of directors I've really admired. Big fan of Mikhail Haneke. I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. Terrific filmmaker. There's a long list, but I really admire directors that are sort of precise in their vision. Edgar Wright's another example, growing up, being a big fan of his, where they have such a specific vision and they're so eloquent and articulate. I find it really interesting listening to how they communicate to, to their crew, to their cast, and also how they solve problems. No filmmaker has a perfect set. There's always some kind of issue that comes up. That's not like, you're not a good filmmaker because nothing bad happens on your set or like no problems arise. You're a good filmmaker because problems are always going to arise and you have the ability to solve those problems, that you can find creative solutions to those problems. So I think those are the types of filmmakers that I really kind of gravitate to and look up to, for sure.
You mentioned Fincher. This is an obligatory question. Fight Club or Seven?
Oh my God. Okay, good question. I think Seven is definitely like I think there's more to appreciate about Seven from, to go on a little tangent here. Like, imagine just you're a first-time filmmaker, you're brought onto this huge franchise, a franchise that you've always loved and admired, and you have to do the third installment, and everything, talk about stuff going wrong, everything goes wrong on Alien 3, and the studio doesn't respect you. They try to, puppeteer you, but they can't, and everything goes to hell, and it comes out and is hated by fans and critics, and it kind of just feels like your career is over, right? You had your shot and you blew it. I feel like had that have been me, I don't know if I would have been able to get back up. I don't know if I would have had the confidence or the gall to try again. And this guy says, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do one. I'm just going to do one more film. And he does Seven, which is, one of the greatest mysteries ever.
Yes.
And then, for that studio that wronged you, that burned you so badly, to call you up and say, hey, we're sorry. We know you're a big fan of this book. Do you want to make the movie for us? And he's just like, okay, but I need like complete creative control, and I'm going to make it my thing, and you're not going to like it. And they're like, oh, I'm sure it's going to be great. Yeah, we'll approve anything. And then we're able to get a film like Fight Club, which I don't think we'll ever, that it's just such a uniquely, it's I don't see many films like that where a filmmaker's just given free rein to have that kind of a budget and make that kind of a film. I also think Fight Club is super fascinating in that it's been completely misinterpreted by most modern, I'll call them fans, right?
Sure, let's call them fans.
I think Fight Club was a phenomenal critique on toxic masculinity and that whole like the absurdism of male catharsis, right? And instead, like it's like Tyler Durden's the bad guy, and I feel like a lot of people now have completely come away with the wrong idea and are saying like, yeah, it's so cool and it's so badass the way that Brad Pitt is like fighting people. And I think I just think that it's interesting to analyze from that perspective how people might have misinterpreted Fight Club recently. But yeah, I don't know. It's hard to pick between the two. I think I haven't seen Seven in a few years, so that one's kind of at the top of my rewatch list. So I'm very excited to watch it again.
Coming back to theaters next month.
That's right. I'm very excited. I'm very excited for that.
So excited. You mentioned Mike Flanagan, and you actually have a role in his next film, The Life of Chuck, right?
I do indeed.
Wow.
I have one line, but I'm so proud of it. It was my first time ever working on a set like that, and I owe so much thanks to Mike for just basically saying, hey, I know making that leap from Artifice Girl to our next project is going to be a very big, ambitious leap. And it was a leap that Mike took back when he did his first film, Absentia, and then graduated to doing Oculus. It was a big, big leap. And so he said, I want you to get the experience of what that kind of set is going to be like. And so he invited me to the set of Life of Chuck. I got to spend like 2 weeks just shadowing him and getting to watch how he operates and sitting in the director's tent of Video Village and just soaking it all in. And everybody, not just Mike, but everybody on that set was so kind and so welcoming. They were like having conversations with like the script supervisor or the incredible choreographer who was the choreographer of La La Land. Like just
Wow.
getting to meet all these incredibly talented people. Even the focus puller was like one of the coolest people in my opinion. Just because his brain works like at a different speed than everyone else's, so he's able to pull focus so well. And so it's, anyways, I'm hyping it all up, but it was just an incredible experience. And then getting to Mike saying, here's a cameo. I get to act in a scene with two of my favorite actors ever, Harvey Guillen from What We Do in the Shadows, and then Chiwetel Ejiofor, who
that's cool.
was so wonderful. And again, I felt like I was Charlie in the Chocolate Factory, getting just overwhelmed with this incredible world. So yeah, it was an amazing experience, and I hope it means that I'll get to act in other people's projects, because I love getting to see how other directors work, and acting is an opportunity for me to kind of sneak my way onto other people's sets and sort of learn exactly and learn how other people operate. No, incredible experience, and one that I will always cherish.
How did your directing style change after 2 weeks on the set of Mike Flanagan's film?
Well, I will say I felt very, very validated. That seeing the way that he, works with his actors and works with his crew in a lot of ways was very similar to what we were doing with our projects. And that was really, really, that was great. I learned though so much. It was still like a huge difference because he's had so many years and so many, masterpiece projects under his belt. His ability to articulate what he was looking for, while at the same time giving the actors and the crew the space and the confidence to do what they do best. It was masterful. Directing is very much an art of language and communication, and Mike has it down, which makes sense when you watch his other works. He's really able to make you feel like you were brought onto this project for a reason, which I know he wholeheartedly believes it too. If he's bringing on an actor, he's brought that actor on because he trusts the actor is going to be able to do what is needed. He's not going to there's like a certain element of trust that comes with that position that's super important. And yeah, I feel as though when I approach the next couple projects of mine, there's a lot of his sort of technique that I will be sort of borrowing and implementing and taking major inspiration from, particularly in communicating with the people on set and making sure that they feel confident and that they have a clear sort of shared vision to you, and that everybody feels empowered and that everybody feels seen and heard and understood. It's a very unique kind of set, and talking to these actors that have been doing this for so long, some real incredible veterans of the world of film, we're all in sort of agreement when talking to them behind the scenes. Everybody was saying the same thing of just, this is not normal. This is not what normal film sets are like. Normally you're just sort of there to do your thing. It's a job and it's done and it's like, okay. But on some sets, and I understand that I think Nolan's sets are like this as well.
Yeah.
Like, and that you feel so safe and you feel so like empowered, and it's the kind of environment that I want to create for my cast and crew in the future.
I have a Nolan related question for you later.
Let's go. Yeah.
Later. I hope it's going to be a good one.
Oh, I'm excited.
You mentioned, doing stop motion films as a kid. In your 2020 reel, there's a clip of you on Christmas in 2003 getting a video camera. So was that when you started making films that young?
Yeah, that was
That's amazing.
Yeah, that was the beginning. That was my Nana's. I've got a shout out to Josephine DeStefano, my lovely sweet grandmother. She gifted me her JVC camcorder, which was the camcorder she had been, I guess she bought it, several years ago to record, me and my cousins growing up. And so that was sort of the big moment for me that Christmas. She knew that I was into filmmaking, but I didn't have a camera. And so, she wrapped up the camera case, but she was filming me on the camera. And I opened the case and it's empty. And there was a card that like, it was sort of this case belongs to kind of card that comes with it. And it said property of Franklin Ritch. And she goes, you know what that means? And I turned to her and I go, what? And she goes, I guess this is yours, referring to the camera that she's holding. And my face like explodes. I think the video clip, is in my reel. But that was such a big moment for me. And for the rest of the, the next 12 days, I had it just in my hands and making stuff constantly. And
immediately, wow.
Didn't put it down for the next, 25 years. Yeah.
So did you relate to The Fabelmans when the main character was given the video camera based on Steven Spielberg, of course?
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like almost every filmmaker probably has a moment like that when they first pick up a camera and they realize like they can do anything, And so I remember shooting like a bunch of stuff with my Legos and immediately telling stories. Like I never really shot much B-roll. I was all about framing narratives, and I was all about like setting things up and filming moments, and even like with friends and stuff, it was never just like us messing around. I would always be like, all right, but what's the story here? Like, so I don't know. I really was into that. So yeah, Fabelman's definitely captured that spirit of being a kid with a camcorder that I think a lot of kids nowadays probably take for granted because we're all sort of born with phones and cameras strapped to our hands and to our pockets now. It's just kind of like everybody has one. But that's, I think, not necessarily a bad thing as long as we can, make sure the kids are aware of how much power they have with those things, with that you have everything you need to make a film right in the palm of your hand, right? Which means you have no excuse. Like you really have you can write a script on your phone, you can send it to your friends, you can film, you can edit, you can upload it to YouTube. You can do every part of the process on one device. So get out there and start telling your stories.
Make your films now.
Make your films.
No excuse.
No excuse. Exactly.
Now everyone has their phones. They can make anything now. But when you were making your films in high school, cameras weren't so accessible.
That's true.
Back then, you were given, I guess, more free reign, I imagine, than people today. I mean, I don't think I would be allowed to bring my digital camera like I did in middle school all around today, because people would say, put that away. Right. So I imagine you had a lot of freedom at that time to make films, right? Yeah.
It was, you get some weird looks, but I went to a very small school. I was lucky enough that my mother taught at St. John's Country Day School, which was a very small little private school. And for that reason, I was able to go. So I'm in sort of a very small kind of class. And I was very much like picked on and bullied in middle school. But once I like had a camera in my hand, suddenly everybody was like, oh, he's doing something. He's good at something. And there was suddenly like, I don't know, there was just like this sort of inherent respect suddenly. Because I was proactively making something, which was cool, I guess. And so, my friends and I, it just became like a natural extension, I think, of me. My friends were always kind of like game for doing something, making some silly sort of short film or something. I think there was a lot of freedom for sure. And again, take that opportunity. You're going to be surrounded by peers for your high school life, and same thing with college, right? So take that opportunity to experiment, to use that freedom and start telling stories, start making weird things, and just sort of follow your bliss,
Who would you say is your favorite actor?
Oh my God, that's a very good question.
Thank you.
Ooh, okay. There's too many. Look, I'm a huge fan of Keith David. I think he's, obviously he's done terrific voice work, but I've always loved his sort of persona. He's someone that I've always wanted to work with. I'll watch Tilda Swinton read the phone book. I think she's absolutely brilliant. I have a big soft spot for Mark Ruffalo. I think he's great. It's hard to pick a favorite actor though. You know who I would say probably my current favorite is Anthony Carrigan. He's NoHo Hank in Barry, and he hasn't done a whole lot else, but everything he's done is really great. And in Barry specifically, there's a scene where he's on like a rooftop having a conversation with Barry, and he's able to like, in a matter of like a 2-minute scene, he's able to hit like really funny, sort of charismatic enthusiasm, right? And then dip down into serious, badass, I don't care if I live or die, go ahead and kill me, right? Back up to like hilarious, almost like slapstick-esque absurdity, and then down into like sad, pathetic, we feel so sorry for this character. And he's able to do it like so seamlessly and effortlessly. It's such a brilliant scene. And I think he's like, I don't know why people aren't, how is this guy not winning Oscars and Emmys left and right? Because it's just absolutely brilliant the way that he's able to perform this character. So he's someone that I'm very much on the lookout for. Otherwise, yeah, I mean, I really loved Margaret Qualley in The Substance recently. I thought that was a really terrific performance. So she's definitely like high up on the list as of recent. Yeah, I don't know. There's so many terrific actors. Everyone, again, not to not to be biased, but literally everyone Mike works with is terrific. Getting to watch Kate Siegel in action was incredible. I think she's absolutely brilliant. Same thing with David Dastmalchian. God, he's just incredible. Yeah, there's so many wonderful people that I'd love to work with someday.
I'm shocked you didn't mention Marlon Brando.
I guess we have to talk about Marlon Brando.
We have to because...
All right, let's talk about Marlon Brando.
Okay.
So why do we have to talk about Marlon Brando?
Well,
you've done your research.
Know. Yeah, why are we talking about Marlon Brando? The big mystery that I've been dying to know.
So yeah, why don't you explain?
So at the end of most of your films, I don't know, I must have counted.
One.
Yeah, every single one.
It should be everyone that has like legitimate credits.
Right.
Yes.
At the end, there is a credit for Marlon Brando's chest.
In the special thanks, I believe.
Every time.
Yes, Marlon Brando's chest. So when I was in high school, my friends and I did a terrible little zombie short film, a zombie film where you don't see any zombies. And it was called Static, Is Anyone Out There? It's not good, but there's a scene that I'm actually quite proud of where my best friend in the world, Joe Capps, he was my best friend middle school, high school, and is still my best friend to this day. Wow. He has this scene where he's one of the characters in this group of survivors who is, very Kantian and has he's killed one of their only adult survivor in the group because he was potentially infected. And so he has an ethical conversation with one of the other characters who's a little more optimistic and a little more is a little more pure of heart. And when she approaches him, he's building a fort out of books. And in every like shot of the master, very prominently in the center of the book fort, the book of Streetcar Named Desire, the screenplay, is very prominently in the front, but it's upside down and Marlon's face is blocked. So all you see is his chest, his bare chest. And for some reason, my friend Joe and I just always thought that was really funny. And so in the special thanks of Static, again, this was like 10th grade of high school, we very childishly included Marlon Brando's chest in the special thanks. And I think one of us, it was probably Joe, said this should be in the special thanks of every movie we ever make. And I have honored that ever since. Even our very highbrow, very thoughtful, artistic film, The Artifice Girl, even that film, our first legitimate feature film, has Marlon Brando's chest featured in the special thanks. It's just, I guess, a little reminder of how far we come and how, we should never, ever take ourselves too seriously.
I love that. I love that. I've been dying to ask that question.
There you go. There's the answer.
I mean, even in the Last Resort News movie, there's a nod to him where he's in the film, but his photo is marked Lost Media. Yeah. It's just like so close. He's in the film.
Yeah, we have little nods to him. We try to include the book in everything too. It hasn't made it into everything, but it is an Artifice Girl. If you look at the coffee table in Act 3, the book is sitting on the coffee table. Marlon Brando's chest made it into the Artifice Girl. So yeah, that's one of our little inside jokes.
I love that. So good. So you have many different roles. Which role was sort of your entry into film and filmmaking?
That's a good question. I mean, I guess directing, if that's what you call the animation sort of process. But I think there's a lot more when you're animating, you're almost more of an actor. You know, you're kind of having to perform what the character's doing and then sort of walk through it frame by frame. I see a lot of great animators, they film their live action videos, also known as labs, and then use that as sort of their reference for their animation. So in a way, like with animation, you're kind of an actor and a director at the same time. But then you're also an editor, right? Because you're doing this all in the program. So I've always identified as a writer, director, editor. And everything that I do, everything that I intend to do, with maybe some exceptions down the line, we'll see. But I've always wanted to be all three of those roles. I feel as though that's where the vision is the most consistent. If you hold that vision through the writing, directing, and editing process. It's not to say that you need to be open to collaboration. For me, I am not a cinematographer. That is something that I don't trust I could do nearly as well as most anybody else. So that is why I have always trusted Britt with that responsibility. I feel as though working with him, I have an understanding of what he does, but I just don't feel confident that I have that. I don't want to write it off as talent, but just that instinct. And so, it's people like him, sound designers, VFX people, and especially actors. Those are the people that you kind of trust your vision with. But for me, yeah, I've always kind of felt like I like to write the story, I like to craft the story, I like to direct its execution, and then I like to put it together in post and sort of have the final say on the pacing and the tone of the edit. So that's I guess I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, it does, and it's kind of perfect because you're involved heavily with the pre-production, the production, and the post-production, which is important for executing your vision and onto the screen.
Absolutely. I feel like it's a misstep when a lot of filmmakers they shoot for coverage and then say, well, now the editor will figure it out, right?
Fix it in post.
Exactly. But with editing is where you're telling the story, right?
Yes.
Like, so I feel like you have to have at the very least some understanding and some input into that, right? So I never shoot for coverage. We always shoot very specifically and deliberately with, a little bit of wiggle room so that we can make changes if we need to, because things don't always work out the way you envision them, right? But to be as specific as possible, we try to edit in pre-production. We try to edit the film before we shoot it.
Right.
And I think it's why things like The Artifice Girl are able to work as well as they do, because of that attention to that whole kind of trilogy of process.
Right. You're Jacksonville based, born and raised, right?
Born and raised, yeah.
You've had a history with Sunray, and
yes.
It recently closed down, but that's where some of your first films were played and run. How has the Jacksonville scene changed from when you first joined the community and starting showing your films at Sunray?
Oh, wow. Well, there's always been a great kind of sort of underground film scene in Jacksonville. We've had a great history with the 48-Hour Film Festival, and I remember being in high school and meeting incredible people like Sharon Cobb and Dave Hicks, who were kind of running this sort of film group called, what was it called? Cinemania, I want to say. I had a t-shirt. It was cool, but Sunray was definitely like the capital of our local film scene, right? It was such an incredible place. And when I kind of sort of graduated high school and sort of kind of got into making films around town, there wasn't much of a community until, we had some really great showcases that really kind of brought everybody together. They were led by Richard Kodai, and he called them the Jacksonville Short Film Showcases. And so that's where Bedridden played. I had a film called The Baldwin Play there, and then a film called Final 35. play at those showcases. And that was really great because we were able to watch each other's films and, have discussions about them after. They were all at Sunray. And so we sort of had so much fun, with that space and with those showcases. And then I remember, I want to say it was 2017, 2018. I was in a really bad spot, personally and emotionally. And I remember seeing this thing on Facebook that was just like, hey, Laura Blair, who kind of splits her time between Orlando and Jacksonville, she's bringing this thing to Jacksonville called Jack's Film Bar Monday. And
the beginning.
Yeah, and it was like the first 2 weeks of it. It's just for film enthusiasts in town. We're going to meet at, it was Bricks at the beach. And I go, and it's literally like 3 other people. It was me, Basil, and then 2 others. And it was just so like, it was so awkward. It was so weird and uncomfortable, but I couldn't help but feel like this is really cool that we're meeting up. This is the film group, this is Jack's Film Bar Mondays. So the week after I show up, and for several weeks, it was just like 3 or 4 people, right? Mm-hmm. But slowly but surely, over the course of like the next couple months, we started getting like 10 people, then 12 people, then 15 people, 20 people, until suddenly it was like, I remember we had to like set up different locations, right? Mm-hmm. We had to set up a Facebook page that we had to manage. Suddenly it had like 1,000 members, and our meetups would have upwards of like 50 people sometimes. And we had to like just let restaurants know ahead of time, like, hey, we're gonna pack the whole place on Monday. Sorry. But it was incredible. And there's photos that show like these huge turnouts. And it really kind of spoke to the growth of the film community and the enthusiasm for it. And we all just had this incredible sort of, it was over the span of like 2 years where it was just this exponential growth. Obviously that kind of was abruptly kind of stopped by COVID in 2020. And we sort of switched to virtual online meetups. And now we've gone back to the physical, and there's still, every once in a while you'll get a big meetup, but usually it's around the 10 to 20 kind of person range. But it's still, I think, been such a great kind of gateway for these other events. You've got people like Adam Madrid and Monique Madrid, who are like the king and queen of the film community, who have been running the 48-hour film festival as well as their festival LOL Jacks. And now you've got people like Creative Ains hosting like little film competition things, right? You still have the 48 going strong. We've had a lot of success in the 48 recently, as a community, considering that one of our films won like the international like 48. Big shout out to Justin Mann and Tom Seidel and their whole team, Jaron Wallace, Brooksanne, for their 48, which like swept all the awards internationally. So like, because of things like that, and because of this weekly meetup, because of it's usually like once a month we'll have some big event, our community is absolutely thriving. And it's so great to see people like Sharon Cobb, who've been around forever, right? And then all of like these sort of new faces and people kind of emerging. Someone like Joe Mora, who kind of entered into the scene and was just like, hey, I'm new here. I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm a stay-at-home dad, but I'm interested in making films. And then sure enough, like 2 months later, he's like hosting his own podcast and making films and like having all of these great projects going. And it's just so cool that you can do that here. It's such an open and welcoming community, and one that I'm very, very proud of. So it's been a very big transformation of the film community in the past 10 years. It's been quite wonderful to get to be a part of.
Do you think that the film community will continue to thrive and more productions will come to Jacksonville?
I hope so. That's part of my goal is to facilitate that. We've definitely made some great steps. The Film and Television Office is making a lot of really big steps to facilitate that. We've finally got like an incentive program. There's a Fostering Filmmakers grant available. At the same time, it's a struggle. Places like Sunray closing was a huge, devastating blow to the community, and now we're struggling to find a new space to have our showings and our showcases, and so And it's always going to be a struggle in a place like Florida when you have a very when you have a governor like ours who doesn't share the same ideals as the rest of our community does. But at the same time, there's a lot of great potential and opportunity in Jacksonville. I think Mayor Donna Deacon's making a lot of great strides in helping us, and she cares a lot about culture and the arts, and she sees film as a part of that, which is great. And now we've got people like Adam Madrid in our film and television office now, which is awesome. It's like one of our own cool film people is now like
the king of the Jacksonville
yeah,
film.
he's now snuck his way into the actual machination. So it's really cool. So yeah, I really hope that it will continue to grow. I'm going to do everything I can to bring my future productions to Jacksonville. I know that I'm learning that is way easier said than done. But it is something that I'm still very much very passionate about and still want to continue to strive to achieve. And yeah, it's not to say that it's easy. It's an uphill battle, but one I believe strongly is worth fighting.
That's really admirable. And you really are leading the charge of that, of one of the most prominent filmmakers, if not the most prominent filmmaker of Jacksonville.
I appreciate that, but I really do believe that I'm not alone, and that I can't be the only one, right?
Sure.
I think I'm so glad to see that other incredible filmmakers like Alexa Wint are making films. Obviously, Justin Mann is doing a film. My good friend David Gerard has directed his first short film.
Wow.
And I'm also super proud to mention, this is something that we can plug, is that my good friend Tatum Matthews, who played Cherry in The Artifice Girl,
right,
she's directing her first short film.
No
that
way.
She wrote the script, sent it to me, and it was a phenomenal script. And so I'm proud to be executive producing it. But she's going to be directing that, and it's got a terrific crew and a great cast. So again, having all of these people kind of come out and feel this empowerment to tell their stories and to start making these big waves, I'm hoping that we're going to get way more, films like Artifice Girl coming out of Jacksonville, making these big waves at these international festivals, and then bringing that attention back to Jacksonville. It's going to be a team effort for sure.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. You talk about David Fincher and how you're amazed that he was able to get back up from Aliens 3.
Yeah.
In one of your videos, and you recently said that 2017 was a tough year. Was this a point where you may have not have continued filmmaking?
Sure. There's definitely. I mean, I think it's interesting too, having all of these conversations and being on people's podcasts and getting interviewed for The Artifice Girl, and everybody's like, "Wow, it's so cool that this is your first film." And it doesn't feel like my first, because there's been 10 plus years of, more than that if you count like everything, in high school and everything. It's been a long time of making things, a long series of failures in a lot of ways, projects that never saw the light of day or never were able to be fully realized. And of course there's going to be personal things and, things like depression, anxiety that will always kind of make you doubt whether or not you can do this. If you don't have imposter syndrome, are you even an artist? But I definitely believe that I owe my perseverance to the people in my life, to my friends and family. I remember being in a very, very low point and having not made something in a while, and it was Britt McTammany, who was also at somewhat of a low point with his company, or not his company, but I don't mind saying it, Florida Blue, being really awful to him. And so I remember he called me and was like, "Hey, you want to make something?" And it was just something like that, him just being like, "Hey, I'm really stressed. I don't know what to do. Do you just want to make a short film?" And that was like all I needed. And I was like, absolutely. Right. But just his ability to do that meant so much to me. The fact that he reached out to me, the fact that he took that initiative and trusted that we would make something good. And that's what led to Bedridden, which was the film that kind of kicked off our whole kind of journey into going to festivals, and
Mm-hmm.
it was because of Bedridden that we met Peter Koplowski. It was because of Peter Koplowski that we were able to do Artifice Girl. So it all kind of came from us being at a very low point and just having that spirit of picking each other up, right? And motivating each other. And I owe a lot of that to him, obviously to my family, to my sister, who's always been a huge source of motivation for myself, because she's just like a superhero. She could do anything. But yeah, that and friends and family, I think that's essential. You can't, obviously film is inherently a collaboration, so you can't do it alone.
Mm-hmm.
But I also firmly believe that you can't be a filmmaker without a support system,
Yeah.
to have people in your life that you can count on and that you can also be there for, And so I think that that's important. You shouldn't be in a vacuum. You should find people.
Yeah.
And appreciate them.
Absolutely. And you mentioned some of your short films. Bedridden, you just mentioned. Chatterbox was, I mean, how you wrote the conversation about, I guess, understanding why he has to kill himself. Like,
Right.
you think, how is he going to do that? And then when you, through your writing, it makes sense. And it's like, wow, how did you do that? Like, that must be quite a challenge. And the Baldwin was really interesting. Was that based on your real life?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. I one of my biggest regrets is giving up piano lessons when I was really little. I thought it was so annoying, and I thought it was too much time, and that it was a waste of my time, because I was, a stupid child. So I gave it up when I was like 6 or whatever. But I will always regret that decision, because I really do love music, and I love that instrument, and I genuinely wish I could, that I had the time to learn it again. I'm sure I could, but it's harder, as an adult.
Yeah.
And I think that was the day that David Bowie died.
Oh.
And I remember thinking like, shit. Is it okay to swear? I don't know.
Of course you can swear if you want.
I was just like, I'm really upset and I'm angry that I didn't learn piano. And I just remember like sitting at the piano and imagine just a conversation between someone like me and the piano itself. And then that I think I wrote it and shot it that day. And then Ashley Macko, who I was in a play with at the time, incredible actor, she did the voice of the piano. And yeah, it was one of those things where I often forget about it, because it seemed like such a that was one of those films that I like did mostly on my own, which you can tell because the cinematography is not as good.
No, the cinematography was great,
it's
because
simple,
you're wondering like, who is he talking to? You're creating that mystery,
Right.
And then it turns, it's the piano, and it's like, wow, that's incredibly inventive.
Thank you. But yeah, that was just one that was kind of born out of sadness, like just born out of a very like in the moment emotion. And it's just like, what are you gonna do? You can either kick something or you can make something. So
I bet Ingmar Bergman can relate.
Right. Yeah, I don't think film should always be necessarily catharsis, but I do think it can be very helpful to process emotions and feelings.
Yeah.
And Baldwin was very much so that for me.
You made New Wings, a Batgirl fan film, which is beloved on YouTube.
It's the most viewed, yeah.
It's the most viewed, but it's also the comments. I'm sure you've read some of them at least. Like, people were saying this is better than what you find on the CW. This is better than, this is the best fan film ever.
Mm-hmm.
That
I appreciate that. I had no idea if people were going to be into it, just because it's, in most fan films, it's like you've got your actor in the costume and they show up and they have a quick little fight scene and then that's it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it's like we have the costume for maybe like 5 seconds, if even, and then the rest of the 20 minutes is a conversation out of costume.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, like I've always been a fan of I love nerdy stuff. I love Batman, but I especially loved Barbara Gordon as a character, because I thought this is a character that can have an objective perspective on Batman and can call him out on his bullshit, and is also like so cool because she's her dad is the police commissioner and she's still sneaking out at night to like go and fight crime.
How does that go past him?
Right? Like he's got to be a pretty like oblivious guy, which is also like fun, I think, to explore. But yeah, I just imagined like, and this is also, I think, to me, I thought it was an interesting story of, we've always had people in our lives that we look up to who tell you like, you don't want this, you don't want to do this, don't do this, right? And you have to prove yourself to them. You have to say, no, because I understand this even maybe better than you do. And Barbara was in that sort of unique position where, she has almost like a healthier perspective on it all than Bruce does. So I wanted to set up a scene where you have Bruce and Barbara having to have this kind of conversation in sort of a playful way under Gordon's nose, and he doesn't even realize that they're having this ethical debate about the importance of Batman. And kind of speaking to something that I feel very passionately about is that even someone like Batman shouldn't be alone. He shouldn't feel as though he's an island. That's unhealthy. And I've always thought in a way to kind of tie this back to Artifice Girl, Bruce Wayne, he's dealing with his trauma in a way that might be productive, but it's not healthy. And it's a similar thing with Gareth. And I feel like it's important to recognize that yeah, it's cool that he puts on a costume and goes and fights bad guys, right? But he should also go to therapy. I think he should do both.
Yes.
You can do both, Bruce. So I just thought that was an interesting story to kind of tackle. And, I put it out on YouTube thinking, maybe the algorithm will pick it up. And it's still like some of these fan films like get millions of views. Ours isn't anywhere near that. But it was still cool to see that the people that did find it saw it as this little gem of like, instead of having this, crappy action fight scene, instead, you guys are just having like an interesting conversation. But I think it's clear that some people really want that. Some people want to understand these characters, not just see them clash like action figures. And so I'm also very proud of all of the things that we learned on that set. We made a lot of great mistakes that we learned from. And I also have nothing but love for the cast. It was so great getting to work with Anthony Paderewski, who's absolutely terrific and was generous enough to drive down all the way from Savannah to work on this film and stay up super, super late. And of course, Emma, who played Barbara Gordon, is a good friend of mine, and she was just absolutely like perfect for the role. And so it was such a fun time and fun to get to do something a little, less highbrow and just something that I thought would be fun.
Yeah. It did seem like fun when you were filming, but there's this comment that I think captures it very well. It's by JK Studios Online.
Okay.
Many fan films focus on making accurate costumes and cool fight sequences. Your film did what very few others did. It focused on the characters as people, and I absolutely loved it.
Oh, that's great.
It's a very nice comment. Yes.
Thank you to whoever that was.
JK Studios Online.
JK Studios, thank you.
Because you understand that the story is the basis, and you have to have a good story, and it shows through your writing. And like you said, everyone would expect the fight sequences, the costumes, the big action sequences that draw everyone in. But that's with the low budget, you can't always do that. So you make it from the bottom up, and you create the most incredible roots through the writing and the story. So
absolutely,
I thought it was brilliant.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
So as a Batman fan...
Oh, let's hear it.
What's your favorite Batman film?
Favorite Batman film?
Yeah. Gotta
give it to The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
It's... I mean, come on. I think... I'm not saying that it's... look, I love Keaton as Bruce Wayne. And I'm even one of those people that didn't think Val Kilmer was a bad choice. Just happened to not be in necessarily the best of the films. But what The Dark Knight does, I thought was really, it was really quite brilliant and beautiful. And it works as, a film outside of the franchise.
Yes.
It's got some wonderful themes and some, obviously, got maybe one of the best performances of all time.
Heath Ledger,
of course, is absolutely terrific in it. And it still holds up incredibly well. There's obviously so much of that film that has inspired myself and so many other people in my generation. It was for a lot of us sort of our kind of Star Wars. So it's I think it's probably going to be The Dark Knight.
What an incredible compliment to Nolan, as such a Star Wars fan himself, and
Yeah.
of George Lucas and Ridley Scott, all these filmmakers of that time. That's like a huge compliment to him. That's
Sure.
incredible. But yeah, any Nolan film is the correct answer for that question. Any others would be, Are you sure? Gosh, I have so many questions about your short films. Let's see. Do you think you'd ever make a comedy?
Oh, absolutely.
Please do.
100% would love to. I've definitely done comedy in the past. It just hasn't, it doesn't, I don't think it's what people are expecting, which is all the more reason why I want to do it. I think to do a comedy too, it wouldn't be, I think we have to understand like what kind of comedy, right? And I think films can definitely be more than one thing. If you consider Fargo a comedy, which is one of my favorite films of all time, right? That would absolutely, that's the kind of thing I love, that sort of dark comedy. But I also love satire, like Dr. Strangelove, I think is a brilliant film. I would love to do a political satire on sort of the current state of political fanaticism. So that's something I would love to do. And there was we made a comedy feature film that unfortunately was just the timing didn't work because of COVID. But the film is called Teardrop Goodbye with mandatory directorial commentary from Remy Von Trout. And
without skipping a beat, you said that time.
I've said it so many times just for this moment. But that was a full-out comedy, kind of inspired off of films, sort of bad good movies like The Room or Troll 2 or Birdemic. But you also get to hear the director's commentary as you're watching this terrible movie, and then he locks himself in the booth and holds himself hostage, and so you hear this whole hostage negotiation over this terrible film. And so there was a lot of comedy in that. Yeah, I would definitely. There's no genre I think outside of my interest. I'd be down for literally anything if it's an interesting story and something that I felt really passionate and compelled by.
Comedy is really hard to do, and I feel like if anyone can do it, it's you.
Well, I appreciate
because
that.
your films from like The Last Resort News, all the from high school, I'm cracking up watching your films.
Thank you.
Genuinely hilarious, and I'm not someone who laughs too much at films, so I'm constantly laughing throughout your earlier work with more comedy based. So
thank you.
Fantastic.
I think you have to have a little bit of humor in whatever you do.
Yes.
Because life is full of humor, and to keep that sort of levity, especially in very dark films, is sort of important. So.
Yes. Yeah. Now, we've referenced the Artifice Girl several times. I think it's ahead of its time in terms of AI, of course, but also in more specific areas that will become more prevalent, like consent and sentience. We're not even there yet.
Not even close.
No. And the technological language you use has also yet to become a part of our vocabulary. Now, I know many times you've done many interviews to talk about what the film is about. Would you like me to read the IMDb plot summary, or would you like to describe the film?
Go for it. Go for it.
All right. A team of special agents discovers a revolutionary new computer program to bait and trap online predators. After teaming up with the program's troubled developer, they soon find that the AI is rapidly advancing beyond its original purpose. You've talked about, again, you've directed, wrote, edited, and you also wrote screenplay and the theme music.
Oh, yeah.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how was your mental health during the making of this film?
Honestly, I mean, this is what was keeping me kind of sane during COVID. So the pandemic happened, at least where we are, February 2020-ish.
Yeah.
In full sort of effect March of 2020. And I remember kind of being like, well, I'll take this time to write. And I had read several articles over the years about using computer CGI model to catch online predators. I thought that was so cool. Like, what a great way to use technology for good. I wonder what kinds of conversations were happening behind closed doors about, the development of these things. And so in March, I remember sort of sitting down and thinking, okay, what would a story like this look like? And if we're never going to get out of this pandemic, like if this is the new normal, how do we tell a story like this in one location, with as few characters as possible? And so that's where this sort of idea came into, like, okay, well, let's start the story here in this interrogation scene, right? And that way we kind of learn the exposition through this interrogation and then get the reveal of what's going on. And then, that's cool that we're getting that, but I want to also explore things that aren't going to happen for at least another 50, 70 years. So okay, so I know I want this interrogation scene here and this scene that happens like way in the future here. And then, it was pretty easy to find like a midpoint for act 2. And then it was boom. Okay, I've got my 3 acts. This could either be a play or a virtual staged reading or, ideally a movie. And then I spent 2 weeks writing or 2 weeks doing the research, took an online course in machine learning, interviewed a bunch of people working in these fields, which was really bizarre because back in like early 2020, they were all being like, oh yeah, AI is about to blow up. It's about to explode in the cultural zeitgeist. And of course I was like, well, I'm sure you feel like that because this is your thing. I'm sure if I ask the jetpack people that they'll say the same thing, but sure enough, they were 100% right. Yeah. And I got very, very lucky with the timing of this. But then I wrote the script in a very short amount of time, in a very unhealthy, unattractive 48 hours. Yeah, it was a fast turnaround, and I just didn't stop. It was really weird, and I've never been able to recreate that experience. Everything else that I've written either takes like 3 months or a year and a half. So it's like this was
range
right. I guess I wish I could do that again, but so that was a really quick turnaround. I brought in a couple actor friends to do like a virtual stage reading, and then once again, Britt gave me a call and was like, when are we going to shoot this thing? And that's when we kind of figured out, okay, what's our strategy? And we can talk about that later. But as far as the mental health thing is concerned, just having a project, having something that I like was like doing, I think was actually quite good for my mental health. It's funny, you do all the dark, depressing stuff when you're like in a good place. And then when you're not a good place, you're doing all of like the silly, fun, kooky stuff. No, I actually was quite feeling quite fulfilled and feeling very excited and motivated at the time. Because what else are you going to do? You just sit and watch Netflix.
I mean, I binged Homeland all 8 seasons. So.
You can do that too, yeah. I did some binging as well, and got a Nintendo Switch so I could play Zelda.
Nice,
there was that as well. But it was nice to have just some kind of some creative project. Yeah. So yeah, not too bad, honestly.
That's impressive.
I had an okay COVID.
Okay. Yes.
And no one that I knew died either.
Oh, good.
Which was also important.
Amazing. Yes, it's very important. You mentioned the 3 acts. In the first act of the film, I was reminded of 12 Angry Men.
Yes.
Due to the first act and then the later 2 all acts, as we said, all being set in one location, one room. Like 12 Angry Men, you really used the space and made great choices in camera work. In the second act, there is a subtle nod to the film where Gina calls Amos Juror number 8.
Correct, yes.
Played by the legendary Henry Fonda
yes,
in that
indeed.
film.
Absolutely.
Was 12 Angry Men in your mind while making this film?
Absolutely, of course. No, it's a great film and a great example of how you can take something that is very stagey and it was originally a play and make it cinematic. It's a great example of very specific ensemble staging. It's terrific character work. 12 Angry Men was obviously a huge inspiration for this, as was other films like it, like My Dinner with Andre. There's a great film called Mass. Primer, obviously, being kind of different, but similar in that, it's another low-budget film with a lot of dialogue. 12 Angry Men was definitely a big inspiration, as were a lot of those classic sort of bottle films.
Oh, I love hearing that. In the beginning of the film, the question, how do you know you're doing the right thing, is posed. Is this a question you often think about or remains in the back of your mind?
Always, right? I mean, at the end of the day, we're all asking that question. I just think it's interesting how, who we ask that question to. And for me, I remember with the opening of the film, I wanted to make it clear what decade we were in. And I thought, okay, I want to set the tone as far as like where technology is, right? Because in 20 years, like who knows what Siri's going to be, right? But I want to make sure it's clear this is in the 2020s. So I was like, okay, a conversation with Siri. And in my mind, it was just like, okay, yeah, she's got a lot going on right now. She's bringing in this person that we don't know is trustworthy. And I kind of wanted to set the stage with her asking something very simple, like, what do you believe is the difference between right and wrong? And of course, Siri's not going to have an answer for you. And then as I was writing those lines, it was very obvious to me that the film had to end with that same question.
Mm-hmm.
And this time having a very straightforward answer.
Yes.
Just, would you like me to search the web versus, no, you fucked up. No, you didn't do the right thing.
The complexity of that consent and the importance of consent 50 years before. Yeah, it's an important question, and it all circles back through it, which is fantastic.
Thank you.
Another line that stands out that I think has slowly started to transpire in people's minds, but will hit differently in the years to come, is my anonymity is my most important asset.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. That line is soon followed by all of them just carelessly sharing their information. When researching in preparation to making this film, has your approach to posting or sharing on social media changed?
I don't know if it's changed. I've never been good at it, so I think it might seem like, oh, he must be very smart because he's good at privacy, but I'm really bad at posting.
Okay.
I definitely feel as though there's a lot that this film tackles when it comes to AI that isn't necessarily relevant to the current conversations that we should be having about AI.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that a very important conversation we should be having about AI is privacy. The fact that these AIs are being developed by big corporations and these very big entities to get our data, to get our information so that they can then sell us more things is very scary to me. So I do think that privacy is something that we should be talking more about when it comes to AI. But yeah, I think it is important that people be mindful of what they post, because that the internet is written in ink, and anything you put out there is going to be preserved, and depending on what happens, could come back and be used against you, right? So it's important to be mindful what you post. I try not to post too much just in general, but once again, I'm really bad at posting, so I don't have to worry about it too much. But I also think that it's important to try and keep what I post productive and supportive.
Yeah.
I feel like I can be a really good pair of feet and a good extra voice to try and amplify other people. So that's what I try to share mostly, is just productive and positive stuff.
Yes.
If I can.
That's great. Yes. We all need more positivity in the world. Speaking about positivity, throughout the film, you portray the positive and negative surrounding AI. In the final act, there is a belief expressed that AI can't exist without humans and vice versa going forward. Are your thoughts or stance on AI reflected in the balance of the film's optimistic yet cautiously aware portrayal of AI?
Good question. So, so here's what I think. I think even though the film obviously is sort of taking this idealist approach to AI, like what if these very altruistic people made AI for a very good cause, right? And that's great. Obviously, the film tackles the fact that even with the best intentions, there's still going to be ethical things to discuss. There's still going to be potential issues that we still need to be mindful about how we go about doing this thing. I think what the film does accurately get with what AI is today is that AI is always going to be a reflection of the people that make it, right? So if it's made for altruistic, very helpful, good reasons, then that's what it's going to do. If, on the other hand, it's made for nefarious or opportunistic, or dare I say capitalist purposes, then that's what it's going to do. And so where we're at now, obviously, is it's a little harder to be optimistic about AI being made for saving children because of who's developing AI right now. But I do think it's no less important that we be mindful about how we use this tool, because it's going to be a reflection of what we do. It's always going to it's taking the things that we're giving it and giving it to us back, right? That's how it works. So if you teach an AI to be good, it's going to be good. If you teach an AI to steal information and sell you slippers, then that's what it's going to do. So yeah, it's an exhausting topic now. I was never expecting AI to be such a huge issue when writing this film. So it's great that it's getting so much coverage because of the topic, but it's also, such a complex issue. It's hard to talk about all of it,
Yes.
I think that the film is really using AI as a conduit, as a vehicle to explore things like childhood trauma, explore ethics, philosophy, consent, and those kinds of things. So as far as like what AI is going to be in the future and what we should be doing, I really don't know. I'm just a storyteller. I just make movies.
I just work here.
Exactly. But I do think that above all else, we need to be mindful.
Well, I know you don't have all the answers, but there was just something in this film that it really interested me. In the conversation in the third act, it is revealed that Cherry has depression despite years of carrying out her programmed objectives as well as her own personally. She isn't even free from a human condition felt by most, if not by everyone at times. I know you don't know the answers, but for AI to not have a definite cure for depression, do you think that is possible? I mean that's such a human emotion that she's experiencing. So you would think that they would have a cure for it, but it seems like maybe not. I don't know.
I don't know if there ever will be a cure for depression, but I do know that what's important about what Cherry's experiencing is that she's in a position now where she could either perpetuate or break the cycle, right? Gareth perpetuated the cycle. It's a systemic thing for Gareth. He was abused, and even though, like with Batman, put all of his energy and resources into trying to stop such terrible things from happening to other children, which again, very good, very productive, but he was so reluctant to even acknowledge, let alone try to process or heal from his own inner personal traumas, that it then had a negative impact on what I guess you could say was his child, this AI program. And because he wasn't being, using the word again, mindful of how that could affect Cherry, it had this lasting negative impact on her. And now she has this opportunity, she even says, like, maybe I'll go make some AI of my own design, right? But isn't that like a little scary to think, like, but is she going to make the same mistakes as Gareth, or is she going to know better having had this experience? I think it's important I feel like I'm a hypocrite saying this, but if anyone out there is experiencing depression, anxiety, trauma, it is so important that you do talk to someone, communicate it. Do not bottle it up. Do not let it fester, only for it to then affect or harm someone else, whether it's your own child or the people around you, right?
Yeah.
You have to process it. You have to communicate. It's essential. And so oftentimes people try to bottle it up and think, well, I'm just going to not worry about it because it's only going to affect me. But that's never the case, right? It always comes out. It always ends up harming other people if unchecked, if untreated. So, if you are experiencing something like that, if you relate to a character like Cherry or a character like Gareth, then talk about it. Talk about it with a professional. Talk about it with your family. Don't be afraid to be open and vulnerable about it. I hope that's something that people get from the story, because it's something that I feel very, very passionately about, and something that I think is way more important than AI and robots. Talk about what's going on in your life.
And Gareth really, he held it in, that he bottled it up and unconsciously deprived Cherry of childhood, of her childhood. So for that being the basis of the story, was really moving, and one of the most interesting aspects to me. I know everyone's talking about the AI, and of course, again, you don't have the answers, and
of course.
I figured everyone's talking to you about AI. Like, do you have the answers? What do you think is going to happen? And I'm like, but the depression part of it is really important, and again, one of my favorite aspects. But you played Gareth. Ready for my Nolan-related question?
Let's hear it.
Do you see Gareth as the Oppenheimer of his generation or a future generation?
Ooh, interesting. Yeah, absolutely, right? Like there's a there's definitely it was cool seeing Oppenheimer after making
Yes.
Artifice Girl, after Artifice Girl had been released, right?
Mhm.
And then it was just I think it was like a month or two later that Oppenheimer came out after
Ah.
we had our official release of Artifice Girl in 2023. The film had already been done for like a year and a half, but it was put out in 2023. Oppenheimer comes out, and I remember thinking, like, not only are a lot of the themes the same, right? Like a character of brilliant mind kind of ushering in something that he is now very nervous that he's just unleashed on the rest of humanity's future, right? But also I was very thrilled that people were showing up by the billions to watch a movie where characters talk in a room for most of the runtime.
Well, that's the similarity between you and Nolan. That's your work too. I was like, oh, you must really relate and appreciate Nolan's work then.
Yeah, I mean, I was thrilled when I was like, oh, the Trinity test happens, and then the rest of the story is like taking place in that deposition, and I was just like, oh, great, we're sweet. Okay, I hope people like this, because if they like this, then maybe they'll like the thing I did.
There's hope after all in the audience, yes.
But do I think Gareth as a character could be yeah, in a way. The thing, though, about Gareth that separates him from Oppenheimer is that no one's ever going to know who he was, right?
Yeah.
He still gets to maintain that anonymity, right? I don't think he became famous and had his face posted on Time magazine. I think he had to stay in the shadows the whole time. He doesn't seem like he's got fame under his belt in Act 3. I think he stayed anonymous, and I think, that definitely played a big role in Oppenheimer's sort of life, was him using his fame and his platform as a way to try and de-escalate what he had created.
Right.
Whereas Gareth doesn't learn anything until the very last minute,
Yeah.
And I do maintain, I think it's interesting when people talk about like, oh, Gareth was such a cool protagonist, and I still have always felt that Gareth has always been the antagonist.
Yeah.
In Act 1, he's the character keeping Dina from learning about Cherry and utilizing those resources that he's holding on to, right? And he's the obstacle. In Act 2, he's the obstacle between Amos and the truth about Cherry. And then in Act 3, he's the obstacle between Cherry and her autonomy. So I do think that that's an interesting element to it, He's not the kind of hero that we could say about Oppenheimer,
No. To be labeled as a protagonist is very interesting because, I mean, yes, he's the main character, and you can think that immediately, that's kind of defaults. Okay, the main character is the protagonist, but no, he's definitely the antagonist.
I agree.
Slowly creeping in, and you would see how impactful his decisions and his actions were 50 years later.
Sure.
I have so many more the Artifice Girl questions, but this will be a film years from now that I think will lead the conversation of AI that we know today and will become significant film. Like I think
so,
it'll grow. Yeah.
I appreciate that, and I really do hope so. I think obviously a lot of it's going to depend on the technology and how ridiculous it all seems in the future, but no, I really hope that people continue to find something in it, that it resonates with people. I really hope so.
Yes. Yeah. And last weekend, your latest short film, congratulations on already being selected into the Cordillera International Film Festival in Nevada.
Thank you.
Now, the basic, of course, question, what is the film about?
So, not to give too much away, but I will say that the film is about a father-daughter pair of aliens who their species have been living on Earth for many decades. And in this world, humans now live in these very destitute reservations in the same way that indigenous Americans live today in our world. And so these two very well-meaning aliens who consider themselves to be human enthusiasts are going to visit this human territory and try to make a negotiation that they believe will benefit the human race, what's left of the human race. So it ends up being a sort of story about colonialism using the sci-fi premise of aliens. I won't get into too much beyond that, but it's a subject matter that I feel very passionate about, but also recognize that as a white man, I cannot speak on indigenous perspectives. But what I can speak on to is the perspective of someone who is benefiting, who has always had the privilege and the advantages of benefiting from colonialism, right? And how I think it's very important for other people like me who live privileged lives to recognize what it is that our ancestors robbed other people of, and to kind of have a discussion about what we should be doing about it, and what we need to recognize, and what we could potentially do to not make that mistake again, and give back, even though it's a very complicated and seemingly hopeless sort of endeavor. I think colonialism is the true cosmic horror of our universe, really. And if aliens were to come down, and even if they were peaceful and respectful and had the best intentions for us, that there's nothing stopping from things being the same way that when colonists arrived to America. And I think it's I like the using science fiction as a way to explore these very relevant and grounded themes in our world and in our civilization. So last weekend is an opportunity to do that, and to sort of critique the I think what a lot of us take for granted as our privilege.
Have you found that people are resonating and understanding that powerful message behind that film?
I think so. It definitely seems to. I mean, it's not subtle. There's a scene where one of our alien characters finds an old history book, and sort of walks backwards until they reach the chapter about Cortez, and I think I assume that people are getting the message, but I also, again, it's a film where it doesn't have a solution to the problem, because a solution isn't easy. It's not as simple as like, oh, all we have to do is, X amount of restitutions, or all we have to do is, and easier said than done when you have all of these major corporations and government bodies who are still continuing to profit off of the exploitation of indigenous people. So it's a complicated issue, but one that I felt needed a story, a science fiction story, to help people better understand the perspective of what's happening with that. But it remains to be seen. We'll have to see what people say about it when it gets a wider release. Yes,
and your description of it is it's nice that it's following Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yes, definitely.
That's they're completely different films, but that sentiment is you're following in the footsteps of Scorsese in that regard, which is important to be said, and people were getting the message from that, and I think hopefully people will be reminded of that message through your work, since that is your message and what you want to impress upon people. So I
hope so. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. I know you want to keep it under wraps, so I
won't
ask.
It's all good. It's all good.
I won't ask too many questions about the film, but I can't go there.
No, it's all right. I mean, I'll defer the question if it's too much, but go for it.
Like the Artifice Girl, a fear of the doom of humanity is presented with an incoming new species.
Sure.
But in both films, you end with an uplifting, positive tone with hope that humanity will prevail. I'm curious to learn how you see, or if you see parallels between these two films in this way or other ways.
Definitely, right? I mean, I feel like a lot of it is about trying to break a cycle, right? Change is never a singular action. Change has to be systemic, because how we got here was always systemic. The Artifice Girl spans almost 80 years, right? That's how kind of long it took to build that. And with the short film last weekend, it's referencing this very long sort of thing that happened. One of the older characters is referencing when she was a little girl and the aliens arrived, right? So it's building a lot of context, because our world and what we're experiencing in our civilization is, of course, hundreds of thousands of years in the making.
Right.
We're not just here because we hit a triple in baseball. Like, we're here because of someone had to get on first base, and then someone had to see that we could get to second base, and then finally, and then through that process, a lot of people were wronged and exploited and killed. And so I think it's important that we recognize at what cost do we owe our privilege, and what can we do to I guess what can we do to one, make sure that we don't make those same mistakes again, but that also we can lift up the people that did not deserve to get the short end of the stick, right? I think it's important, and it's going to lead to a better society if we ask those questions and we acknowledge those things.
Yeah.
So that's something that I hope to do with last weekend. But yeah, definitely parallels to Artifice Girl with that.
And you plan on bringing it to film festivals for releasing? Which film festivals will you be submitting to?
We played at Key West, which I heard went really well. I'll definitely be submitting it to the Jacksonville Film Festival. It's one of my favorite festivals. Obviously, I have a little bit of bias, but it's an incredible festival run by Nikki and Tim Driscoll. I really hope it gets to play there, because it's, that's the audience that a lot of them will have been involved in making it.
Yeah.
And so it's my home and my community. So hopefully it'll play there. But yeah, I'm excited for more people to get to watch it, and for more people to sort of see it. And for me personally, it was just a nice way to kind of bridge the void between features, which is a big valley. So I'm very happy to have something that I'm proud of, and something that I was able to collaborate with my favorite collaborators with.
After the festival run, will it be available on YouTube or somewhere more? Okay.
Definitely. I'll be sure to put it on YouTube once it's run its course on festivals.
Okay.
Yeah, I if it's a feature, obviously with distribution, people need to be compensated. But for short films, I just want to make sure that people see it, and I like that people can see it for free.
And you're already thinking of your next feature, your next project?
Oh, yes. Been in the works for quite a while now. It's very exciting and very ambitious, and a lot larger than the Artifice Girl.
Oh my gosh. Amazing.
So we're very excited, and it's now become clear that it's one of several projects that are in the works right now. So yeah, I can't speak on anything beyond that, but just be on the lookout. We've got some really fun, exciting stuff down the pipeline.
I'm so excited. I can't wait.
Thank you so much.
With each project, you challenge yourself. So what is one thing on your bucket list that you hope to accomplish one day or in the near future?
Ooh. Hey, like, sky's the limit. I'd love one day to do a Batgirl movie. I know there's one on the shelf, so it doesn't bode well, but I'd love to do something like that. I would love to do, I'd love to do a political comedy. I'd love to, there's a lot of great IPs that I'd like to adapt, but I definitely think my focus is going to be on original work. But just in general, I just want to be able to afford groceries and rent, and keep making stories, keep telling stories, keep making films with the people that I love. That's the bottom line. As long as I can do that, I think I'll be forever fulfilled. I'm not in it for the fame. I'm not in it for the money. I just really love telling stories. So that's my hope.
What advice would you give up-and-coming directors who may not live in one of the major filmmaking cities, or, I don't know, feel discouraged to venture back into directing after past challenging experiences? Don't
be discouraged. Don't give up. Go for it. I mean, like, if Fincher can come back from his experience on Alien 3, then anybody can do it, right? Yeah, don't get discouraged. You're going to have failures. You're going to have catastrophic failures sometimes. You're going to think, well, that's the universe telling me I shouldn't do this. That's not what the universe is saying. The universe is teaching you, right? Learn from those experiences. Solve the problems. Work the problems. And communicate. Talk to people. Find like-minded people that share your vision, and keep going. Keep telling your stories. because your stories are important.
Thank you so much for coming on today,
Thank you.
Franklin. I
This was so
always look
wonderful.
forward to converse with you at Film Bar, and I'm so grateful for your kindness from the past year that we've known each other. And I knew I wanted to work with you someday, but after being astonished by your work, working with you has become one of my absolute dreams. And you are an incredibly gifted filmmaker. You were an innate filmmaker. It's just in you. You're gifted in this way, and you're without a doubt on the rise. And I can't wait to see where you go next.
Well, thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to working with you and future collaborations.
Oh my
It'll be fun.
gosh. I hope so. That would be amazing.
Thank you again so much for having me. And this has been just a terrific experience and some excellent questions. So thank you so much.
You. I'm so glad. Last Weekend is coming out this winter, and I'll be sure to let you all know on the All the Film Things Instagram when it's widely available to watch and the film festivals that it's going to. Last Resort Ideas is on YouTube. Everyone can check out your YouTube channel, which is a lot of your short films in the past. Great work through there.
Thank you.
Is there a film recommendation, a line from a film, really anything you'd like to conclude our episode with today?
Ooh, I wish I had.
Well, Christmas is coming up. So
Christmas
if you
is
have
coming
a
up.
Christmas film that you're excited to watch, you watch every Christmas?
We just did this with my roommates. We watched my favorite adaptation of A Christmas Carol is called Scrooge with Albert Finney and Alec Guinness.
A 70s film, right?
Yeah, 1970 something. And it was Albert Finney as Scrooge and Alec Guinness, who's Obi-Wan Kenobi, plays Jacob Marley. And it's by far the best adaptation of A Christmas Carol, by far. It's so great. It's so fresh. And even all the classic things that you make Christmas Carol such a tired story and yawn, but it has a unique spin on them that's like not a huge deviation. It's just incredible filmmaking too. But there is a phenomenal musical number in the third act that I'll just quote for the title. For those of you that know it, you'll get a kick out of it, which is just, thank you very much. So thank you very much.
I'll recommend, in terms of Christmas films, my two favorites, The Apartment and Fanny and Alexander.
Nice.
So,
Good picks.
Thank you.
Excellent.
I watched the series of Fanny and Alexander last year, and now I'm going to watch the feature film this year, and I'm going to be upset with whatever they cut out, but I'm excited. So
Awesome.
Thank you again so much for joining me today, Franklin.
Thank you.
Thank you all for listening. And Franklin, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful episode.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Take care.
Special thanks to Franklin Ritch, Basil Jada, Dr. Gillian Smith, and the Jax Film Bar. This episode was recorded on December 5th, 2024.